Welcome to Vienna, the crown jewel of the Danube River. And we've got a cheeky 3-day Easter weekend to explore as much of it as we can. Down the opulent streets through thousands of years of history, I think this is going to be an amazing trip. So let's start things off as we always do in typical near-from-home fashion by going on a damn good walk through the Altstadt, the old town city centre. And I think there's going to be a lot to see. This city makes me just feel so small. The buildings are incredibly tall. I'm worried I'm gonna get a neck cramp looking up at them, but you're well rewarded every time you do. They are so opulent and so beautiful. The only thing that equally matches the opulence though is the amount of walking tours. Vienna is busy. It's the first nice warm day of the year. It's during the Easter weekend and it's still absolutely jam-packed. I don't know if I would want to be here in August. That might be too much. And now you know me, there is no way I could pass up the opportunity to come and marvel at some ancient Roman ruins, even if that isn't really what Vienna is most well known for. And I mean, that makes sense. There aren't a ton of ruins left in the city. Vindobona, as it was called, wasn't exactly a city of great note or repute along the Roman frontier lines. And of course, Vienna being Vienna, all of the more modern history was built straight on top of it without too much regard for archaeology. And I can't blame them, but that does mean there's most likely a massive archaeological treasure beneath these cobblestones. I doubt we'll ever see it. This little archaeological pit in particular is super fascinating. It might not look like much, but this is almost 2 millennia's worth of bricklaying, from the Roman encampment itself to Renaissance walls and 18th century building foundations, is all just sort of mixed together in the dirt. However, what is most interesting, at least to me, is even if the high streets of the old city of Vienna don't look particularly Roman, it is theorized that they are still following to this day the ghostly roads of the Roman encampment. So it might not look it, but you're still walking the same routes as the Romans did. Isn't that always how it goes around here? And naturally, how could I do anything but praise Vienna for its intense amount of walkability? It feels like no matter where you go, cars are far away. You gotta love that. These streets are for the people, just as they should be.
So I am kind of feeling very overwhelmed because Vienna is a lot. We haven't actually made a video on a big city in over a year. We're only gonna be here for 3 days, so we're just gonna concentrate on the central zones. But something really cute is that you can tell what zone you're in based on the street signs. Number 1 for zone 1. Pretty cute.
And a really cute piece of public infrastructure here in Vienna are all these little watering holes, often for dogs, but for people and their water bottles too. It's really nice and it's super cold. So on a hot day like today, those are really refreshing. And Camille is in love with them. Vienna's a great city to have a water bottle. What have you found?
You don't recognize what this is?
It's teacups.
Oh, I'm disappointed in you, Ben.
Really?
It's pottery from Gmunden.
No, does it really say that?
Yeah, you don't recognize it?
Oh, show me where it says that.
Well, I don't know if it says that, I just recognize it. So for those of you who don't remember, we did a huge series in the Salzkammergut, and one of the places we went was a village called Gmunden on the lake of Traunsee.
I think it was our first real video series.
It was. Gmunden was super famous for porcelain, specifically their toilets.
And don't forget to keep your eyes peeled for these absolutely glorious covered passages, the Durchgang, the jitties connecting the streets. It's a great way to get out of the sun and into some shade without giving up any of that Viennese opulence. Now, of course, what walking tour of the Viennese Altstadt could possibly be complete without finding your way around St. Stephen's Cathedral, the central cathedral of all of Vienna, and it is absolutely stunning. Naturally, the Gothic architecture is on point. It's so detailed, it's so beautiful to look at and quite refreshing in comparison to the Frauenkirche back home in Munich. But if you ask me, the most beautiful part of this church is the tiled roof. It's stunning. And can you believe, with all the walking we've done so far today, no Vienna bronze map? I am incredibly disappointed. However, St. Stephen's Cathedral is making up for it a little bit. This is absolutely fantastic. I am not, however, climbing any towers today. I've been doing that in enough videos. Today is my day off. No vertigo in Vienna. And now you know me, you know what comes next. I'm about to tell you that I'm not going inside the cathedral. I've been inside of plenty cathedrals in my day, and what's most important on your vacation is doing what you're interested in, not just following off some arbitrary checklist. And that's great travel advice. Well worth a like, comment, and subscribe, but plot twist, because today we are going inside the cathedral. There is a very special guided tour that Camille really wants to take part in.
It's really pretty, but I'm really excited for what I have planned.
Camille's making us go in the crypt.
Oh yeah, do you feel that crypt air?
280 years ago, this was a public cemetery. So they built 30 big grave rooms here and buried nearly 11,000 people here. 300 years ago, there was one large outbreak of the bubonic plague in Vienna, and just so many died. 700 were dropped into a mass grave on St. Stephen's Square. And that's the chamber in the back to the right.
Are you ready?
You're taking us to the plague chamber.
Ew. Oh, they're just like laying there. I thought they were gonna arrange the bones.
Those bones are not arranged.
Oh.
Oh, the caskets are just like deteriorating. So what did you think?
It was really gross, so I loved it. It was definitely bones in pits, the ride, the experience. I've been to a lot of these types of attractions before, so I was really expecting a more ossuary type of experience where they neatly stack the bones in a beautiful space, but this was really spooky. So if you're into that type of thing, I would totally recommend it. I think it was a really good way for us to interact with the cathedral. Normally we're not super into that kind of thing, but this made it well worth it.
Now, of course, this is a near from home video, and I am legally obliged to talk to you about public transit and how I arrived here, which of course was by train, an almost direct connection straight from Munich to Vienna in about 4 hours. It was a dream. So no matter where you are, if you can, you should be arriving to Vienna by train. And once you're here, the trains and trams just don't stop. Usually when we're making these videos, once we arrive in a city, we can do everything else on our own 2 legs, but like we've mentioned, Vienna is absolutely massive. So you're going to want to get acquainted with the public transit system. Luckily, in the center zone, they offer a 24, 48, and 72-hour ticket. I picked up a 72-hour ticket right when I arrived, and that's exactly what I'd recommend you do as well. Now, of course, I don't want to belabor the public transit point too much in this video. I can't really teach you how to get to and from any point to any other point, so I'm not going to include it before and after every single segment. Video would drag on way too much if we do that, but you're in luck. It is easy to navigate your way around. At least for me so far, Google Maps has been fantastic. So just get your ticket, follow Google Maps, go where you gotta go.
Vienna is incredibly important to the European classical music tradition. This is because the mid-18th century to the mid-19th century saw a flocking of composers to this famous city. And this is because Vienna had sort of established itself as the center of arts and culture because it was the capital of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. As such, many of these composers called Vienna their home. In fact, many of their residencies have been converted into museums. There are dozens of these former residencies turned museum all over Vienna. We've got the Beethoven houses, the Mozart houses, and the Schoenberg houses. As somebody who majored in instrumental music education and taught elementary school orchestra in the United States before moving to Germany, this was very exciting to me, and it was super hard to choose. But I finally made a decision. We are going to be visiting a former Beethoven residency in the Pasqualate house.
I mean, I knew you were taking me to the building where Beethoven lived and to his apartment. I didn't realize you were taking me to everyone else's apartment too. But where do we go? I don't see any signs.
I think we go up those stairs.
It really is like we're visiting an apartment. I feel like a delivery man. And it smells like pizza.
I mean, this was just one of the apartments that he lived in during his time in Vienna, so it makes sense that we're just in a random apartment building.
Not a bad view.
This apartment changed hands a lot, but every one of the owners actually allowed Beethoven to live here for free.
It's sort of like a tradition.
Yeah, pretty good deal. And I just think it's so cool being in the same room that Beethoven wrote so much influential music. Here he wrote the 5th, 7th, and 8th symphonies and his opera Leonora. That's especially cool to me because Beethoven 7 is my favorite of his pieces. And if you're not familiar with his repertoire, that's okay. He also wrote for Elise here. And I'm sure you're familiar with that. I had such a blast in there. That was really fun.
Did you really?
I did, yeah. However, I would not recommend this museum for most people. If you don't have a strong foundation in music history, you're gonna kind of be confused and not really know what to think of the very sparse artifacts in that museum.
I'd also say if you're not like super into the concept that he wrote those symphonies in those rooms, that was doing a lot of heavy lifting for the museum, if you ask me.
Yeah, but it was great for me because there were a lot of pictures of like patrons and various people in Beethoven's life and their relationship to him and his music. So I was going through reading all the plaques and got a lot of good nuggets and takeaways, you know, for my music history knowledge that I like to keep up.
You were the saving grace of that museum for me. Having you there, having you explain things, that put things in context and I could enjoy it. If I had been solo traveling, I don't know if I'd recommend it.
But there are actually plenty of other music museums in Vienna to choose from. And even if you're not into this like super niche sort of museum, you can go to some more generalized ones.
I mean, you specifically picked this to not go to one of the touristy ones. A, because I think other channels are probably going to cover those for you. And you wanted to see this one. And I'm happy we did.
There are so many live music options in Vienna, and I'm really excited because tonight we are going to go to the Volksoper. The Volksoper should be really good, but there's only one way to find out.
Naturally, no cameras inside, but maybe we'll try to take a sneaky picture or two. Maybe a cheeky recording. Let's see what happens. And afterwards, we'll let you know if it's worth it. Damn. It looks pretty cool though. Not gonna lie though, maybe next time, we might go for a box. I'm nervous. I'm worried I'll be a little bored, but we'll see. I'd say the opera's going well so far. About an hour in, intermission, plenty of snacks and beer. I'm well happy. I also didn't think that today was going to be turning into German practice, but it has. We thought there were going to be English subtitles. There aren't. So do be careful when booking here. Sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't. If you don't make it back in time, they will make you wait outside, at least until one of the arias finishes up. When everyone starts clapping, then they'll let you back in. But you don't want to miss out, do you? All right, now that the show is over and we're in the hallway, we can officially record, and I figured we'd give you our thoughts while it's still fresh in our minds. What did you think?
It was really, really good. Would highly recommend when you're in Vienna.
Oh yeah, it was insane, and I went in kind of skeptical. I don't really usually like this sort of thing, and I don't think like the Volksoper is really what people are thinking of when they think of Vienna and classical music, but considering the price, the quality of the performance, I would highly recommend that you put this on your list. This is a pretty good recommendation if you ask me. All right. Time to go to bed now. See you guys in the morning. As much of a metropolis as Vienna really is, it's not all hustle and bustle. It's not just sprawling urban landscape. There are tons of parks and nature spaces, as you'd kind of hope and expect. None as big as the Englischer Garten in Munich, but there are plenty that are very cool. But there's one park in particular that I've been excited to visit for quite a while because it has some really somber and interesting infrastructure. And that's here in the Augarten, complete with its Flack Towers. Built around 1942 by the Axis powers, these things are wild. They were built to defend the city from Allied air raids, and they come off kind of like land battleships. Built incredibly quickly with walls, well, 3.5 meters thick. They're incredibly hard to destroy, which is why after the war was over, they were not destroyed. They were built to be indestructible. And the reason why I point them out, not that I'm a fan of pointing out Axis megastructures, I want to point it out because of the dissonance that it gives this park, and the dissonance that in many ways you live with when journeying through Germany, Austria, Italy, and etc. This park is intensely family friendly. You can't see it, and I'm not going to film it because that would be weird, but right off in my eye line, I can see a kid learning to fly a kite. Children are riding around on bicycles with their parents. There's somebody slacklining. Everyone is out here coming down from the residences. We're in a very residential neighborhood and just enjoying life. Underneath this incredibly odd reminder of the past. It just gives the park a really unique feeling. It's quite strange, but I think it's worth coming and seeing. The towers always came in pairs, one gun tower like what you see behind me, and one radar tower, which yes, is also in the park, and I can see it just over there. Maybe we'll go visit that in a second. In total, there were 6 built in Vienna, so 3 pairs, creating a triangle around Stephansdom. One of the Flack Towers, most notably, has been converted into an aquarium. So if I thought this was dissonant, that must be another level. In a slightly less serious tone, I also just find it really weird to be under this tower because when I was a kid, I used to play the Medal of Honor video games with my dad. They were often a little bit too difficult for me to complete on my own, and this tower was used as the aesthetic inspiration for the very final level of Medal of Honor Airborne. So when I was a kid, I have so many memories of jumping out of an airplane, pretending to be a paratrooper, and trying to figure out where's the best place to land on one of these towers. If you'd asked me then if I thought it was real, I'd have said no. I thought that it was a complete fabrication to make a fun climax to a video game, and it was really fun. And so to actually be under the tower that inspired it and to see that, no, these were real and they had to be taken over, It's really weird. The radar tower looks in even better condition. And of course, to continue the theme, it's next to a track and field setup. There's a basketball court there. It's, yeah, it's surreal. Maybe to the Viennese, this is just completely normal, but to me, this is very, very surreal. So of course, if you're interested in World War II history, but even if you're just interested in experiencing Vienna kind of like a local would, out here in the peaceful park, under the dissonance of history, I think the Augarten is a great place to be. Forgetting about the towering monoliths though, not that that's very easy to do, the park is actually just really good on its own accord. There's so many beautiful straight paths with these gorgeous trees and hedges, but there are also tons of trails out into the more wooded and foresty areas. It's really cool. Like this shot right here, it looks more like I'm out hiking in Bavaria than it does being inside such a metropolis. It's just so extensive. What do you think?
Peaceful.
You can't really forget about the towers.
It's just looming right over there.
They're always above you. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I am mighty hungry right now. I'm in the mood for something hearty and not particularly healthy. And since we're in Wien, that can mean only one thing. It's time to get Wiener Schnitzel. And so consider this my schnitzel retribution, because we've eaten a lot of schnitzel together already on this channel. However, often we eat it my favorite way, with mushroom gravy, which Austrians are quick to jump into the comments and tell me that I am desecrating their national dish. And I still think they're wrong. However, we are in their house today, so let's eat it their way. To do that, we have come all the way to restaurant Figlmüller, perhaps one of the most famous schnitzel houses in all of Vienna, to try their classic recipe. And pro tip, you're gonna wanna make reservations. Problem is, we came to Vienna long ago. I think I might have mentioned it. We were with my brother. And so we came to this restaurant like 4 years ago, and I remember being very intimidated by the size of the schnitzel and by the size of the beer. However, maybe it's a good sign as to my integration into German life. I am no longer intimidated by the schnitzel at all. Seems perfectly normal. One thing to look out for as I continue to procrastinate is obviously the sign and hallmark of a good schnitzel is obviously how thin the meat is going to be tenderized, and most importantly, how well the breading adheres. If you cut into a schnitzel and the breading just falls off, it's probably still going to taste good, but it's not going to be a great schnitzel. Not like this. So honestly, this is looking pretty good. So let's see how it tastes, huh? I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. It kind of feels like when we were getting beef in Kobe, it's almost the dictionary definition of a schnitzel. It's exactly what it says on the tin, and it's the best probably that you could get in that way. However, it still isn't my favorite. I know I'm gonna annoy you guys out there. I know it's my controversial opinion, but Drei Mühlen in Munich with the gravy, that's still my favorite. But this is amazing. However, nothing I've said is surprising. What might be surprising though is Camille's. Are you ready to try yours?
I guess.
All right, pass me the camera. Optically, it doesn't look as entertaining.
So this restaurant definitely gets a lot of points for having a vegetarian schnitzel option, because a lot of places in Bavaria just don't, and I end up eating only potato salad. However, I will say that I'm a little bit less than impressed with this schnitzel. It does look a little bit like a sad schnitzel.
I mean, in comparison, right? Like, I think that's the problem. You being compared to this is that's a difficult order. Talking about that breading integration, huh?
All right, let's see how it tastes.
Oh, my fingers are crossed.
It's fine. It tastes like vegetarian meat substitute. I will say that the breading is incredibly crispy, and although it's not really sticking to the fake meat, it is very, very uniform. I'm gonna try it with the mustard. The the mustard is creating a little bit of a redemption arc. So if you're vegan or vegetarian, I would recommend getting this, especially if you don't want to experience the fear of missing out. I would recommend getting it with some sort of sauce though. Sorry, Austrians. How is it?
That mustard is really good.
I know, right?
I do wish it was mushroom gravy though.
Ooh. So I eat a lot of potato salad in Bavaria, and this is so different. It's so much more complex than the stuff I'm used to. There's like a vinaigrette in there, there's a nutty taste in there. I think there's some Bärlauch or some fresh herbs, but there is a lot going on. It's just creating this really interesting complex flavor that's hard for me to describe because I'm not a chef. It's really good though. Definitely continuing the vegetarian redemption arc. So if you come here, especially if you're a vegetarian, I would highly recommend the potato salad.
And you know this wasn't all the food we ate during our long weekend in Vienna, though it was a damn good start, especially for me. But this video is getting a little bit long, so if you're interested in our Viennese coffee and cake adventures, then please do subscribe so you don't miss out. And seriously, if you've watched this far, consider sharing this video with your friends. Vienna is only a few hours away from my house. I already know I need an excuse to come back, and I've got some really good ideas for Viennese day trips, the kind of stuff I'm not seeing anyone else cover. But I really need your help and support to get us there. God knows I can't just rely on the algorithm. So help us out, give us a tip if you think we've earned it, share us with your friends, come back in 2 weeks for our food series, and of course, don't forget we offer custom itinerary consultation services over on our website where you'll be able to jump on a Zoom call with us to go over your upcoming trip and talk all things travel. I have loved getting to meet so many of you guys out there at home and help you with your trips even more than I already do. It's been so much fun. Thank you all again so very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, wherever that might be.